You're listening to the Songs of Inspiration podcast, bringing you local interviews and performances by singer-songwriters with the goal to give space to the music community and share local artists' messages and stories with the world. I'm your host, Lars Wickland. Hey everyone, we're here in the studio at the Record Co. with Wyn in the White Light. This is a special episode for a couple reasons. We're celebrating their record release, which is awesome. And this is also the first episode where I'm dabbling with video. So if you want to check out the episode online, you can go to YouTube. I'm really excited to have Wyn in the White Light here today. So to kick things off, why don't we go around the room and just have everyone introduce themselves, talk a little bit about your musical journey and how you guys came together as a band, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Cool. I'll kick it off. I'm Wyn Doran. I am singer, songwriter, and guitarist for Wyn in the White Light. My musical journey in a nutshell, I was a choir nerd turned original music. Like, I started in bands in around 2015 and then started writing my own music around 2017, 2018, which brought us to now, and the other awesome people in the room who are joining me.
I'm Heidi Tierney. I'm the drummer and glockenspielist and accordionist and all auxiliary random things. I also grew up playing drums and glockenspiel and all percussion things, and a few bands here and there. Went to school for music education and classical percussion, and then met Wyn on Craigslist for another band we were in previously.
Nice.
And then she can't get rid of me.
True.
Awesome.
I'm Lucia Jean, and I actually met Wyn at this point so many years ago. I don't even know, 8 years ago or something. And I was bartending at my first bartending gig in Western Mass, and their old band was playing, and then years later she texted me out of the blue to do a video for International Women's Day, and so she's also the reason I'm kind of playing bass now, because I had put down bass for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
My background is more in violin, but now I've gotten super attached to
That's awesome.
this end of the string instruments. So.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, you use a bow on some of the songs, and it sounds really cool.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah, it goes really well with the harmonies and just the vibe of the music. It's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. When did you guys kind of knew you had something special kind of with the band chemistry that you've kind of formed with the group?
That keeps evolving into deeper and deeper levels of joy. But I think we all knew the first time we played together, which was crazy because, as Lucia mentioned, we got in the room for a one-off video shoot. I was just texting all of the women I knew that played any instruments to come together for a song that I released on International Women's Day in 2019. These were the two to show up, and when we played, and I have it on video, which is such a special moment, all three of us just look at each other what just happened?
Did we just become best friends?
And the answer was yes, which is really cool because that was 2 years ago.
Wow.
Now, and just, I don't know, making the album and how our live shows keep evolving, and how both of you keep jumping in moments when, taking leadership in moments when I am overloaded. I'm just continually more deeply in love with my bandmates. And just wow, our collective energy is really a beautiful collective.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, I feel really lucky.
Very cool. Yeah, it's really cool when you come together and have that moment and are wow, this is clicking, and there's something magical behind it and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and like having it driven by such like a deep, genuine love is like bonkers. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just like the coolest feeling in the world. It makes you like crave, you know, playing together and like crave these moments, and then each
Yeah.
moment that happens, you're like, I want another one of those.
yeah.
I feel like it opens up the artistry too, to like feel safe and comfortable doing things you wouldn't normally do for, you know, someone who you don't like really trust.
Like
or you're-
screaming, honestly, like that would be so hard in another context. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but we trust each other so much.
That's so important and so hard to find sometimes with just relationships with musicians and stuff
Yeah.
as a songwriter and stuff. So that's really cool. It's also cool. I know you guys have posted a lot of videos like singing together and stuff, and it seems like you spend a lot of time just getting together and doing creative things, and
Yeah.
that's really awesome that you have that bond and stuff.
Thank you.
Cool. Can you share a little bit about the experience with the writing process and the recording process of your record Luck?
Sure. So I wrote the record before uniting with Lucia and Heidi. I didn't fully know it at the time, but over COVID, I was writing one song a week from March 2020 to basically the end of 2021. And I had all these songs, and I could feel that they were something. And then we had that video shoot in early 2022, and I was still kind of looking at all of this stuff. And then eventually it was like a magical car ride where the 10 songs kind of landed into a journey, and I could see them come from like the other 60 I'd written. And that was when we were doing all these creative things together. So I brought that draft to the two of them when we were just having a fun weekend to play. And that was kind of the moment that was a huge turning point from Wyn Doran as a solo act to Wyn in the White Light, where they were into what I showed them, and it was like, okay, this is going to be the team to enter the studio, and let's see what happens. And that was September of 2022, and then we got ready to go into the studio a year ago now. And I'll kind of maybe kick it off if either of you want to talk more about the recording process.
Well, just to speak to like when you brought us your drafts of those songs, like immediately just connecting to them and feeling the journey that you were talking about and being so like weirdly attached to a song I'd never heard before. I'm like, this is mine now. Like I need to add things to this. I need to like yeah, it was like the vision was so clear immediately, and just like the inspiration to like figure out which instruments to add and how we're gonna like actually build this, like what layers can we bring to the studio to make this song like speak in its fullest, brightest voice was so fun.
And there was something like Wyn comes in and is like, I mean, I think this is something, and we're both. I have that moment is burnt into my brain the first time we listened to the full like album draft together, because we both were just like, well, this is an album. I don't know what else to tell. Like it was so clear. It was just there and ready, and like that was so crazy because we could hear. It was like, even though it was all the parts weren't there, I feel like we would talk about the songs and we could totally hear these layers already happening. And then it was really figuring out like how we were going to synthesize those things and like what decisions we would make.
That's cool.
Yeah, which was like so exciting.
And also with the album order too, you're like, you know, these could each be like moved around, and we're like, no, it's literally
Absolutely
like
not.
perfect in the order. Like it tells a
Do not.
like stories start to end. I feel like that's so rare too. Like
Yeah.
usually in the recording process, you're like, oh, this might be better served. Like here, we didn't change. It played out as that like initial take in you know, start to finish.
Yeah, and I got my dream of like when we were going into the studio, I was like, I kind of want some songs to be live, some songs to have different layers, and 3 of the songs, like the core, or maybe 4 of the songs, the core of them were recorded live, and then we layered over them. But I feel like there is so much of a mix of everything that entering that time I thought I couldn't do or couldn't achieve. I thought, like, you can't have a record that has like a Nirvana inspired song and then like a really soft ethereal song, and all of my mental barriers kind of broke down with Lucia and Heidi's support and just diving into the essence of what each individual song really wanted to manifest as. And yeah, I don't know, it was hard as hell to like go through that whole time when I look back, but I'm so proud and so excited about like how rough that journey ended up perfectly and as it was meant to be.
Yeah. I think going through it, it's a lot of moving parts, and then once you get through it though and look back on it, it's so awesome to hear it. And the way I heard it come together too, like the way you released it was really interesting. And I could hear it sort of come together as you released more songs, like the vision of it, which was really cool.
Thank you.
And one other thing I was wondering about with the studio, were there any moments of where like you were playing live in the studio where like things happened or came together like that you didn't expect or anything like that?
Yeah, so Disoriented we had no plan for when we went in, and that song ended up being my favorite for a couple of months. It keeps going back. But I remember one night in the studio feeling really defeated by it, honestly, and being like, oh, this was so dumb. Like, I was relying on some form of studio magic for like this one song to come forward, and it wasn't. And then by the next morning it had. And then I feel like the energy on it is just insane.
So crazy.
Yeah, that was the one that's live, or one of them that we did a live take and then layered some stuff afterwards.
And per its namesake, I think that was a really good one to sort of like be a little disoriented on, because it has like a chaotic energy to it, and I think, I don't know, I feel like our process of going in a little unprepared like helped build the energy of that song, because
I mean, it wasn't planned.
Heidi actually plays pots and pans on the song. Fun fact.
And
if you
like
listen
my
to the
favorite texture. It's so good.
So cool.
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing. I think I was getting ready to record one of the saddest songs, and then I just found out like Heidi's down there in the drum room with like all of these pots
I like
and
went
pans.
into the kitchen and like raided their pantry.
I was like, I just have this quick idea while you're getting ready to do this.
And we were in the
That's
control
amazing.
room. I was in the control room with the producer, and we heard Heidi tinkering around, and we both looked at each other and we were like, oh my god, that's so sick. Like immediately. It was crazy. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Brilliant.
So I have the fun in the band.
You bring a lot of joy that
Truly.
helps me connect to my own, which I'm really grateful for.
Very cool. And where did you guys record the record?
Yeah, we did the bulk of it at Great North Sound Society in Parsonsfield, Maine, with producer Colin Lester Fleming, who lives in Portland, Maine. And then we finished it off at Q Division in here in Boston.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And the first studio you mentioned, that did you go up and like stay for a period of time?
Yeah,
and stuff? That's
it's
cool.
such a cool spot. It's just a cabin in the woods, basically, with nothing around, and it was just the perfect vibe for this particular record.
That's
too.
cool.
I feel like.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
was.
And we all stayed there. We did 2 stints there, about 3-ish days each.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was nice to like, we were like cooking together and living in the space too. So I feel like, especially for the songs we didn't have a plan for and stuff, everything was just percolating in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that did a lot for our creative process.
Yeah, spending that amount of time together, and just like it really does do a lot for that, and really is inspiring and stuff. And
and when inspiration strikes, you can like go try something out on the instrument that's right next to you, or like on an organ that's right next to you.
Yeah,
I
totally.
literally slept next to like a
Oh yeah, I forgot
organ.
about that. Because also they had crazy stuff. Like their live room was full. They had a full scale marimba. Like they had, it was crazy.
Church bells that
Yeah.
Heidi plays in Midnight Confessional. Also a hidden tasty treat.
I saw they had like, I think you were playing like a harpsichord or something on a video or something.
Yeah, so that was actually mine.
Oh,
but
cool.
it is oddly from like that neighborhood of Maine. My
Oh, wow.
in-laws were at like a secondhand store and found, it's called a marxophone, and it's kind of a lap harp. And I was really excited that it made it onto this record. And it was cool that I was like, this is from a couple miles away, and now it's making music in this studio after being, it was just a piece, like an art piece on display in my apartment for most of my life. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's cool.
And it like, I don't know how old that must be, but it's
Yeah.
like, she old.
This is very old.
She probably never thought she'd get to be on an album.
I know.
That's a great moment for the marxophone.
You
Heard
one
it
would say it
heard it.
marks an important. I can't.
Sorry. Yes, you
Shut
can.
up.
The dad joke.
I love a pun.
Very cool sounding instrument, though. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope to bring it out live sometime, but we'll see. We'll see if it happens.
That's cool. We sort of touched on this, but you had kind of like a slow burning release with the record. And I've seen some other artists do this as well, but what kind of was behind the thought process for that, and kind of how you went about releasing it and stuff?
Yeah, this was a head scratcher for me. This was like a big journey in following my intuition and doing it in ways that were challenging, like my logical brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had the record done actually last July. And originally I wondered if it was going to come out in the fall. And I was doing all this research about how to release a record, especially this was under a new name as a band, and how to kind of start momentum around that. And so I was talking to different people about what was smart from a music business standpoint. But really in the end, it was intuitively led. I wanted to take listeners on a journey that respected some of the songs as singles, because I think there's also like, you can overlook chapters of a whole piece, even though the album really is a whole piece.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like each month I was tuning into different essences of songs from the album that I feel like were following that energy. And it felt really nice to give people the end of the album first, because How the West Was Won is like the triumphant like fighter song. And I also just thought there was something beautiful about giving the end first, and then circled back to a couple of the chapters that I really wanted people to have a chance to sit with, and do it in a way that then when you zoom out and get the whole album together, like you could kind of feel how those chapters sat in this ride. But yeah, it was really interesting. Like, and I was fighting again. I just feel like it's important as an artist, because I've fought my demons and continue to fight my demons. Like, the whole process was really hard and really challenging, and I was questioning everything, and both of them got multiple text messages and calls from me freaking out about doing it wrong and what am I doing. But in the end, I'm really proud of how I was following these intuitive urges that didn't necessarily make sense, but now feel like they do in the end. And yeah.
That's
A
cool.
memory that I have that happened so much in this process of like trying to figure out how to release stuff is we'll often pull like tarot cards or oracle cards, and like we'll ask a question like for the cards to kind of shed light on, and a lot of times the question is like, you know, help us move forward with like, how do we release this? How do we like let people know? And Wyn's dilemma was always like, do I go with my logical brain? Do I go with my intuition? And like every time we pulled a card on it, it was like, do things in your own time, not on anybody else's schedule. Like
ultimately, you know the answer.
Yes, led to your intuition.
Over and over again.
That's amazing.
Over and over, every time.
Yeah.
Even last night we pulled cards, and it was like trust and determination, and one of the little blurbs was like, listen to yourself, and ultimately you can follow yourself. Like if the outside voices become too much.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's such a good message too, in general for creating stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, this whole journey was honestly like me trying to get answers from everyone, everything, and it was like the universe shutting that down and being like, they're all gonna be like, go back inside and figure out what you want. And like that just kept happening over and over, and I feel really grateful that somehow I manifested this beautiful team that like allowed for that growth and in the most challenging times allowed me to find my own voice.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Truly blessed.
Very cool. Do you have any plans to tour with the record and kind of get it out there?
What a good question. That goes back to the intuition thing that I mentioned. The answer is yes. The question is what the timing is.
Yeah.
And I can feel different special events coming around the album. We have a visual component, like a full-length film that goes along with it, and we also have a beautiful set of oracle cards that Lucia illustrated based on lyrics of the album. And so I'm feeling like right now in the fall there will be some really special larger events around it.
Cool.
And whether those will tour around or be Boston based, I'm not sure yet. But this summer I'm definitely hoping to get us to Connecticut where Heidi lives, New York City, and more Boston shows.
Awesome.
But we'll see. Like, we want to tour.
Yeah.
It's just a question of what's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How have the songs changed? Like you spent a lot of time in the studio. Like, did you have to adapt things as you brought them live? I think we talked a little bit about this in emails, but
Yeah. That's a good question. I think that the songs we were playing live already, which were Heal Me and White Noise and How the West Is Won, mostly stayed true to how we started playing them. Except How the West Was Won, we added the screaming. That was all studio, which is now one of our favorite things.
Truly.
I've been to a show and it's wild to see the whole crowd scream.
I know.
It's
It
fun.
really is incredible. Like when we played Lizard Lounge, like you never know. Every space is different. Every audience is different. And you have to be willing to go in full chested regardless.
Yeah.
But then the moments where like the crowd is so responsive and so present and so ready to release with you, like the collective power that gets harnessed is like insane. And that room was just like, I think you were there. Were you there?
I was at that show.
That one was crazy, right?
Yeah, it
Did
was
you
great.
feel it?
Yeah.
Because it was so packed and everyone, you're just like, oh my God, the wall of sound that hits you. That's like, those are the moments that I live for. Like the other quieter moments when we're still getting it out, it's like, it's all the build up for when, that moment really hits.
Yeah.
I think Wyn's music does that so beautifully, which is why, like, you'll never be able to get rid of me. Is like it shows the whole range of like emotion from that like
totally.
raw, guttural anger to like moments of joy and moments of like solemnness.
Yeah.
I think, and that was another fun part of the album too, to find instrumentation and ways to like capture that through sound. through instrumentation.
Yeah, that makes me think about something you brought up recently, which was like a big part of our process, which did influence our studio time, was we meditated around the essence of each song, and then we entered the studio like thinking about what instruments went with that intention. And so, I mean, that's where I'm like, oh, screaming was like the extra spice that How the West Was Won was missing.
I mean, it kind of was, because like sometimes we were a little bit like not sure about How the West, because it's this like tongue-in-cheek, folky, like very different side of the coin from the rest of the album. And sometimes I feel like we were cringing ourselves out. Like, we were like, we don't quite understand how it fits with the body of work. Which is ironic, because the first time you ever sent me, like, when you were working on recordings on your, like, SoundCloud, before you had the order of stuff, I told you How the West Was Won was, like, my favorite one off the list. So it kept going back and forth of, like, we were just figuring out what that song really meant in that context. And then the screams was, like, the whole point of that song is how it's, like, backwards, and you know what I mean.
At face value, it's kind of like Americana, like folk sounding, which is not our vibe at all.
That is not us.
And we're like, okay, it's sarcastically Americana. Like once we were able to like wrap our head around that, we're like, okay, we can have these like Americana kind of sounds, like marching snare drum sounds, like,
because we're gonna scream.
That cancels out the folksiness.
Heidi and I have trauma from our former folk band.
But we're doing great now.
We're working through it. Oh man.
It's cool though how it's layered in like underneath on the record, like it really works well and adds a cool texture and stuff at the end there.
Thank you.
When we recorded it in Q Division, it was Wyn and Lucia's first time, like really
screaming. Like and truly.
I have experience from like my classical contemporary percussion days. I feel like I just had to do a lot of screaming in college for some reason. Like that was part of the curriculum. But
that's very
listening back after we just let out our like rawest, most guttural screams, we were all sitting in like crying. The sound room, and it was the most horrifying raw footage you've ever heard. Like we scared ourselves. Like,
and I was so scared to do it, and then I was like, oh, now I get it. I get why we need to do this. Like,
the release, haunted by what we
Our
created.
bodies carry a lot of trauma, and it really is a release of it.
Yeah,
it
even
helps.
at that Lizard Lounge show, I screamed in it. It is a release.
Yeah. I'm glad you did.
And after we did that scream, like our producer Colin like comes in the doorway, and he was like, didn't seem to even want to step in the room, and he's just like
everyone.
I think we got it. Like,
you're like, should we go again?
I don't think so. That's plenty. That'll do.
We can keep going. Poor Colin.
I know.
Screaming banshees.
I know. He treaded so lightly. We really scared him. That was the last thing we did for the recording process too. We ended it with the scream. That was the final touch.
That's a fitting end.
Yeah, truly.
But it's cool. He probably put it through when you put that through a lot of like reverb and stuff too, it gets even more like haunting sound.
Yeah. He crushed it, I think, in how he textured it.
Yeah. Very cool. Awesome. Any shows coming up that you guys are playing?
Yeah, May 18th in Lawrence, Massachusetts. We're opening for an incredible. You know this, right? Oh wait,
motorbike.
Yeah, we have a couple. So in Lawrence, Massachusetts, we're opening for this incredible artist called Chesky, and then May 4th we are playing International Riders International Female Riders Day event at Harley Davidson in Billerica.
Oh, cool.
That afternoon around 1 p.m. or 2 p.m.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
That's the near term.
Cool.
Yeah.
Definitely we'll try to get out to one of those.
Awesome.
Heck yeah.
And, yeah, where can people get the record?
Yeah, they can find the record either at our live shows, which is great, or through Bandcamp, Wyn and the White Light. Bandcamp.com. Vinyls are for sale.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah. And on all the streaming platforms if you're not listening to vinyl. Should also say that.
Cool. And yeah, you have some cool merch. I remember at that Lizard Lounge show, I bought one of those Soul Rock.
Yeah. Yes, we have a bunch of Soul Rocks. I haven't yet put those for sale online because I think shipping would be a nightmare.
Oh yeah, blessings.
But I think about it sometimes. But yes, we have a variety of Soul Rocks. 3 for some of the singles that we released that are special to them, and then a couple that are around the essence of our band.
Cool.
Which for the audience is a literal rock crystal. A literal crystal.
Oh,
curated
crystal, a curated
Just assuming
crystal.
people don't necessarily know what a soul rock is. But a little clarification for the audience.
Thank you. I know, I've been thinking, because I went to school for business, and I'm like, all the business choices would be to market these as crystals, not as an average rock. To me, I love
Play
a
on
rock.
words.
But
I
I
love
know.
a play on words.
It's a good play on words.
It's in the name of the brand.
It is.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being on, and excited to hear some music. So yeah, let's dive into the performance, and yeah, thank you again for your time today.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks
for
for
having
having
us.
Hi, we are Wyn and the White Light again, and this is our song White Noise. I wrote it in a quote COVID quarantine hotel in Italy. If you wait for it, it might catch up. If you run for it, it might stand still. If you grasp at it, it might combust. If you follow rules, it never will. While I'm there, white noise in all we hear, black sand coming off my head. I made this bed, so I lay in it. Got the walls of four-leaf clovers, mocking as I cannot sleep. Not my hair on the blankets, not my soul 6 feet deep. While as white noise in all we hear, black sand filling up my head. I made this bed, so I lay. If you wait for it, it won't catch up. If you run for it, it's all uphill. No, seems we're ships out of luck. External world aim to get. White noise and all we read. Black sands filling up my head. But I made this bed so I lay in it. This is our song Statue. I co-wrote it with my friend Josh Knowles, and this is a special acoustic arrangement that you get today. Can't spit it out what I'm trying to say. There's a thought in my heart that won't formulate. On my tongue, an alien metallic taste. Slipping into a plane where no one can wake you. Now you're just another statue I wave to. In a wave of sirens rush into safety. Will this be the bed that eviscerates me?
Chemical drifts that a stranger had made.
Mirrors don't show what a horror it paints. In your eyes, a storm that no one resonates. Slipping into a plane where no one can wake you. Now you're just another statue I wave to. In a wave of sirens rush into safety. This can't be the bed that eviscerates me.
Right, this is our song, How the West Was Won. There's a heartbeat in the floorboard, 4-7 going ignored. We're all searching for a gold cure. Wire fence on Ellis Island, shedding blood to wear diamond. Are we ever gonna find it?
We ain't ever gonna find it.
Tell me what Simon says, I'll follow him into the depths so I don't have to leave. One step through the looking glass, I face the aura of a past that's haunting me. And it's got me saying, who do we have to prove our worth to? 'Cause mine's come undone as we toast how the West was one. Tracing circles, laughing at patterns and concrete solutions. And if I start to question, does it make me human? Or does it speak of evolution? Does it speak of revolution? Who do we have to prove our worth to? 'Cause mine's come undone as we toast how the West was one. La-da-da-da-da-da, la-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, la-da-da-da-da-da, Da-da. All right, here's your chance to cathartically scream with us in 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Lars, for having us.
Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That sounded crazy in the headphones.
That was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Thanks for listening to the Songs of Inspiration podcast. Until next time, keep supporting local music, stay safe, and be well. This podcast was produced by True to the Vision Music. For more information on us, check out larswicklund.net.